the betrayal that ruined my life, and a lost love. I cheated on my wife, and a few months after we got divorced, the woman I destroyed my marriage for cheated on me too. Karma? Maybe. In the previous video, I talked about how I reconnected with my ex-wife, Jane, after 2 years without any contact. We had a really nice conversation at our favorite place, but I knew I needed a deeper conversation. Can you forgive yourself for something that destroyed the best thing you ever had in your life? Can you look in the mirror and accept that you were the one who ruined everything? That it wasn't bad luck, it wasn't the other person, it wasn't irreconcilable differences, it was you, your choices, your lies. Now you might be thinking, wait, you divorced 2 years ago. She already knows the reason, right? She does. But I need to talk about how everything actually happened, why I let it happen, and how the longer I wait, the harder it becomes to talk about it.
Let me go back a bit. Jane and I had been married for 3 years at the time. Things were fine. Not perfect, but fine. We had our routine, our normal couple problems, arguments about money, about who was going to do the dishes, about where to spend our vacation, normal stuff. I worked at a tech company as a software developer. Jane was a graphic designer. We were doing okay financially. We weren't rich, but we didn't lack anything. And then, Carolina joined the company. Carolina was hired as a project manager. She was about 5 years older than me, experienced, confident, the kind of person who walks into a room and everyone pays attention. She was assigned to be my mentor on a new project the company was starting. At first, it was strictly professional. Meetings, planning sessions, discussions about code and deadlines. She was really good at what she did, and I learned a lot from her in those first few weeks. But then came the after-work conversations. It started with her asking if I wanted to grab a coffee to talk about some project details. Totally normal, right? Happens all the time at work. Except that one coffee turned into 2, then lunches, then happy hours after work. And at some point, without me even realizing when exactly, the conversations stopped being just about work. She asked about my life, my dreams, what I wanted to do besides writing code for the rest of my life. And look, Jane asked me those things too, but there was something different. Carolina listened in this intense way. Like every word I said was the most important thing in the world. And I, like a complete idiot, fell for it. I started staying late at the office. "I need to finish this project," I told Jane. "There's an important meeting early tomorrow. I'll be home a bit late." Small lies, easy lies. And here's what most people don't realize about cheating. It doesn't start with a kiss or with sex. It starts way before that. It starts when you delete a message because you don't want your partner to see it. It starts when you lie about where you were. It starts when you share things with someone else that you should be sharing with the person you love. I started deleting messages. Carolina would send something funny. I'd laugh, then delete it. She'd say goodnight. I'd reply, then delete it. Small things. Insignificant, I told myself. They didn't mean anything. But they meant everything. Jane started noticing. Of course she did. We had been married for 3 years. She knew me. She could tell when something was off. "Are you okay?" she asked. "You seem distant." "Just stressed from work," I said. Another lie. "Do you want to talk about it?" "There's not much to talk about. Just boring projects, tight deadlines, that kind of stuff." And she accepted it, because she trusted me, because in 3 years of marriage, I had never given her a reason not to trust me. Until I did. It was a Friday night. The project was behind schedule. Everyone was stressed, and Carolina suggested that a few of us stay late to fix some critical bugs. Jane had traveled that weekend to visit her family. I was supposed to meet her on Saturday. Everyone left around 9 p.m., except me and Carolina. "Just 1 more hour," she said. "We can fix this." 1 hour turned into 2, then 3, and at some point, between debugging code and drinking my 4th coffee of the night, she put her hand on my shoulder and said, "You're really good at this, you know?" I looked at her. She looked at me. And in that moment, I had two choices. Two very clear choices. I chose wrong. That night was the first time, but it wasn't the last. It became a routine. There was always a reason, always an excuse. A meeting that ran late, an urgent project, a difficult client. And Jane, trusting me, believed me. This went on for 6 months. 6 months living a double life. 6 months lying every time I opened my mouth. 6 months being the worst version of myself and pretending everything was fine.
Until that Tuesday, I had forgotten my laptop at home. I had an important meeting that morning, so I went back during lunch to get it. Jane was working from home that day. I walked in and grabbed the laptop from the living room table. I had left it open, and I had left the messages with Carolina open on the screen. Jane was making coffee in the kitchen when I came in. "Hey, love, did you forget something?" she asked. "Just my laptop," I said, grabbing it quickly, hoping she hadn't seen anything. But she had. "Who is Carolina?" she asked. And her tone, it wasn't accusatory, it wasn't angry. It was worse than that. It was broken. My stomach dropped.
She's a coworker." "A coworker," she repeated. Then she walked over, took the laptop from my hands, and started reading the messages out loud. "I can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was amazing. You're so special." Each message was a stab. Each word was my marriage collapsing. "How long?" she finally asked, closing the laptop. I could have lied. I could have tried to minimize it. But after 6 months of lies, I didn't have the energy anymore. 6 months, I said. She stood there for a moment, just breathing, just processing. Then she went to the bedroom. I stood there in the living room, hearing her open the closet, hearing her grab a suitcase, hearing her start packing clothes. "Jane, can we talk about this?" I said, following her. She didn't answer, just kept packing. "Please, let me explain." "Explain what?" she finally said, without looking at me. "Explain how you lied to me for 6 months? Explain how every time you said you were working late, you were with someone else? Explain how you destroyed 3 years of marriage for a coworker?" "I made a mistake," I said. And even as I said it, I knew how ridiculous it sounded. "A mistake," she repeated, and for the first time she looked at me. Her face was completely empty. "A mistake is forgetting a birthday. A mistake is leaving dirty dishes in the sink. This wasn't a mistake. This was a choice. Many choices, for 6 months." She closed the suitcase, grabbed a few more things, and walked toward the door. "Jane, please." She stopped at the door, her back to me. "You know what the worst part is?" she said. "It's not that you cheated on me, it's that you made me feel stupid. Every time I asked if everything was okay, every time you said it was just work, every time I trusted you, you were lying. And I, like an idiot, believed you." And then she left. She didn't slam the door, she didn't scream, she just left. And I let her go, because what was I going to say? Sorry? Sorry doesn't fix cheating. Sorry doesn't fix broken trust. Sorry doesn't fix 6 months of lies. You'd think that after that I would have ended things with Carolina, right? That I would have realized what I lost, tried to win Jane back, done everything to fix things. But that's not what happened. Carolina and I kept seeing each other for a few months after Jane and I signed the divorce papers. And you know why? Because I was convinced I had made the right choice, that Carolina was different, special, that what we had was real. Until it wasn't. I found out Carolina was seeing another guy, a manager from another company. And the way I found out, she sent me a message, but with another name, saying she was excited for dinner and that the night before had been wonderful. I was confused. She hadn't been with me. We hadn't even seen each other that day or planned anything for that night. That's when I understood. She was with someone else. When I confronted her, do you know what she said? I thought we weren't exclusive. Not exclusive. While I had destroyed my marriage for her, she thought we weren't exclusive. I traded someone who truly loved me, who cared for me, who was building a life with me, for a temporary passion. I ended things with her that day, and that's when everything really started falling apart. At work, I completely lost focus. That project we were working on together, it became a disaster. Bugs everywhere, missed deadlines, unhappy clients. When promotion time came, I was passed over. Carolina got promoted. I stayed exactly where I was. Months later, I even found out there was a life insurance policy in my name that I had never signed, with my boss listed as the beneficiary. My friends started avoiding me. Everyone knew what had happened with Jane, and everyone chose her side, as they should have, as any decent person would. I started working from home more since my job allowed it. It started as once or twice a week, then 3. I avoided leaving the house as much as possible. Going out? Clubs? Not a chance. I had no energy for that anymore. And it was in that state, after everything, that the family dinner happened. The dinner where I found out I was adopted, where I found out my entire life had been built on a lie. And you know what I thought in that moment when my mother told me the truth about my adoption? I thought, this is it. This is the universe collecting its debt. I spent 6 months lying to the person I loved the most, and now I find out I spent 32 years living a much bigger lie. As if the universe was telling me, you think your lies are bad? Look at this. Your whole life was a lie. I spent a long time thinking about guilt, about redemption, about whether you can forgive yourself for something like this. And the truth is, I don't know. Some days I can look at myself in the mirror. Some days I can't. Some days I think, okay, I made a horrible mistake, but I'm human. I can learn from it and move forward. And other days I think, you don't deserve to move forward. You don't deserve to be happy after what you did. Finding out about the adoption only made it worse, because now there was another layer of lies in my life. And even though it wasn't my lie, even though it was my parents who lied, I felt responsible somehow, like lying was part of my DNA, like I was born for it. That's why I stayed locked inside my house for months. It wasn't just about processing the adoption, it was about processing everything, facing who I really was, accepting that I was the person who destroyed the best relationship I ever had, accepting that I lost Jane, not because of bad luck, but because I chose to lose her. And now comes the most complicated part of all. That day at the cafe, when I ran into Jane again, when we talked for hours, when she put her hand on mine. She asked about the divorce, but in a general way. What happened to us? She asked. And I said, I think we drifted apart. I think I was too focused on work. I think we stopped communicating. A half-truth, which is just a nicer way to say a lie. She accepted that explanation, maybe because she wanted to believe it, maybe because she had moved on, maybe because for her, the exact reason didn't matter anymore. She already knew about Carolina. What mattered was that it was over, and now, 2 years later, maybe we could try again. But it does matter. Of course it matters. Because if we're really going to reconnect, if we're really going to give this a second chance, everything has to be out in the open. We have to talk about things we never talked about before. We have to be honest this time. But maybe this reconnection is just a coincidence. Maybe it's only meant for us to be friends. I don't know yet. What I do know is that I'm going to allow myself to reconnect, this time being loyal. We've stayed in touch, talking, having casual meetups. Now only time will tell what happens. If you connected with any part of this story, leave a comment, like the video, and turn on notifications for more stories, drama, intrigue, and revenge coming soon.